Look, I don't expect all of you to agree with everything I say every time, but you've got to remember that it's my job to find the little things that make the cars, trucks, and SUVs you're shopping for more difficult to live with so I can warn you about them. And that doesn't mean they're all deal breakers, but some problems are worse than others. Just take the Lexus remote touch interface. It isn't good, and it never has been. But that didn't stop a whole bunch of you from piling on in the comments of my last UX review. I got called an airhead, which is hilarious, and I was accused of being on the take from another automaker, all because I said that stupid little trackpad wasn't as intuitive as a simple touchscreen. And you know, I'm normally not the type to say I told you so I'm not going to. In this case, I'm just gonna let Lexus do it for me.
I'm in a whip, so I gotta zoom. They tryna talk, they not in a room. I've been so real, I'm dead to the tomb. They in the way, they gotta move. I got a gas, they running on fumes. Told them way back, it's something new. It's me and Dan, you gotta choose. I'm taking what's mine, I'm doing fine. Don't see the vision, they looking so blind. I hit my lawyer, I don't got the time. Crossing my T's and he dotting those eyes. Don't take offense if I do not oblige. I can't relate, but like none of these guys. They hit me once and I'm cutting the ties. I was so low, but I'm back on the rise, it's real.
For more expert car reviews, don't forget to share our channel and subscribe so you can catch some of this and maybe even a little of that. I just feel oddly at peace driving this thing. Maybe it has to do with being right, or maybe it just has to do with Lexus finally getting with the program and putting a touchscreen in the UX. Well, it's not just the UX, it's actually the entire Lexus lineup. Every vehicle either already has or is getting this new touchscreen interface that also has an updated system. It's basically the same one that you get in Toyota. I've tested it a bunch already. You've probably already seen it in my reviews of vehicles like the Tundra. It's very good, and that applies here. It's also just very good when you're using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, both of which are wireless, I might add. Now, it wasn't just this touchscreen that was overhauled. The dash design itself was changed a bit too to bring the screen forward. I don't know if you guys remember in the last UX, it was pretty far back, so even if it was a touchscreen, it would be quite the reach. So bringing it right to this edge means you don't even have to lean out of your seat. Yes, I do have long limbs, but for me, I can just reach out and tap. And that's where the biggest benefit comes in, because I don't care what you say, tapping a screen, it's just way more intuitive than using a little touchpad or even voice control. Something like Apple CarPlay, this was designed around touch inputs. So yes, you can use voice commands to do almost everything, but let's say you want to switch from, I don't know, your music to Google Maps. Well, holding down this button on the steering wheel until Siri kicks in, it's not as easy as just reaching out, tapping once, and off you go. I've got my map up now. It is so awesome, and it just makes this so much easier to live with. Yes, I said the UX used to be unbuyable because of the infotainment interface, and that's totally changed. I think this thing is excellent. I also really like the way Lexus simplified the lineup this year, so that gutless gas-only engine, it's gone. The only way you can get the UX now is as a hybrid. Same thing in the UK as the US, but the cool thing for the Canadian market, all-wheel drive is standard. So that means the usual Lexus and Toyota thing where there's a gas engine with twin electric motor generators under the hood. There's also a separate electric motor in the back that's dedicated to driving the rear wheels. So that means when you need extra traction, you're accelerating or reversing, well, you get all-wheel drive. But when you don't need it, this thing runs in front-wheel drive, which of course is more efficient. It's not gonna burn as much energy because yeah, even though it's an electric all-wheel drive system, any energy consumed is gonna add to that tally. So having less wheels driven means less energy burned, whether you're talking about the battery, the gas engine, or both. Now, officially, this thing is good for 5.7 liters per 100 kilometers in the city, 6.2 on the highway, and 6 combined, which is very low, and it's also very attainable. I have been doing a little bit worse than that this week, but you got to keep in mind a couple factors. A, it's wintertime, it's cold out. B, shooting today, we have been idling, not really idling with the engine running, but having the vehicle running when we're getting all of these static shots, well, of course, that's going to add to the energy that's consumed. But even still, a little over 6 liters per 100 kilometers in any vehicle is very good. That's better than a gas-powered Corolla, and it's way better than any other subcompact crossover on the premium market. Now, yes, this is the only hybrid of the bunch, but it just means you're going to save a bunch of gas. And the same thing goes with the type of gas it burns. This thing runs on regular versus every other entry in this segment that calls for premium. Again, going to save you money in the long run, and so is the starting price, $43,500 before tax for the cheapest UX. Now, it's like I said, the lineup has been simplified, and that means technically there's only one trim, the UX 250H. Everything else, it's package-based. So this one has this elegant special edition, weird name, $1,800. Doesn't add a ton of crazy stuff. LED lighting, including adaptive headlights. Cool, but I don't really think I would spend the money. Personally, I would opt for the $4,750 luxury package that absolutely decks this thing out with all kinds of cool stuff, including a 10-speaker stereo and a head-up display. If you don't want that, you can get a couple of F-Sport packages that do add to the price as well. There's the F-Sport Level 1 package or the Level 2. That one's $9,500. That is a lot of money, but you do get a bunch of cool stuff, some styling upgrades, and some new adaptive dampers. But like I said, at $9,500, that does make this thing a little bit on the pricey side. If you stick with that luxury package, it tops out at just over $48,000 before tax, which is a really good bargain. That's about the starting price of the Mercedes-Benz GLA class. Yes, they are slightly different, and again, that thing's gas only, but if you want to add the stuff that this has, like an entire advanced safety suite, that adds to the price substantially for that Mercedes, whereas here, it is standard. I'm talking stuff like forward collision warning with pedestrian and cyclist detection, blind spot monitoring, lane keep assist, lane departure warning, adaptive cruise control that works in stop and go traffic, and it's the latest version of the Toyota Safety Sense or Lexus Safety Sense system. It's the 2.5 version. Definitely feels better than before. Smoother inputs and nowhere near as many early warnings. I do like the way it all works. And then other standard equipment includes stuff like heated and ventilated front seats, a heated steering wheel, dual zone automatic climate control, yes, touchscreen infotainment, and those wireless phone connections. That makes this a pretty decked out little crossover. Little is the operative word here, and there's no denying that the UX is tiny. I mean, just take a look at it. And that's totally fine if you're using it as a city runabout. But if you've got kids, you should know there isn't a ton of room in the back seat. I mean, I can't even fit a tote bag on the floor with the driver's seat where I need it to be, which isn't great. Also not great how thick these A-pillars are. They really make it difficult to spot pedestrians in crosswalks. It's a rare safety miss for Lexus, but overall, I think this thing wears the design language very well. That spindle grille in the headlights give it just enough aggression, but otherwise there are lots of cool and interesting lines and shapes to look at, especially when you get around back. The way the tail lights hook up, really cool. And then it is a bit of a good news, bad news situation back here, because that load floor, it is a very high, which does cut into the overall utility, but then on the other hand, it means you aren't gonna break your back lifting cargo in and out of here. Now, getting back to this driver's seat and my height. Yes, I am a tall guy, but as you can see, not a ton of headroom with this sunroof. My head digs right into the edge here, but you do kind of learn to naturally slouch as soon as you get in. And I'm not saying that's the perfect solution. You want to feel comfortable in the vehicle you buy, but I'm saying I do feel comfortable. And another reason why, this seat, it's very well contoured, and even this fake leather, it's really nice. I spent about 5 hours behind the wheel the other day when I picked it up. No discomfort at all, lots of adjustability, and having the 3-stage heat and ventilation that I talked about earlier. Very nice, especially for the base price. If you don't want to opt for any of the packages, it's nice to have those features for that entry-level price tag. I also want to say the ride quality is nice even without the adaptive dampers that come with those F-Sport packages. No, it's not a sports car, and it's not quite a decked-out luxury vehicle. in terms of the suspension, but it's very mellow, well measured. It's only when you're slowing down for stops and stuff like that, if you drive over broken pavement, you're going to feel a little bit of the stiffness of the platform and the suspension, but overall, I do like it. And I'd also say this thing is a little bit of fun to drive. And yes, a big reason why, the short wheelbase and the stubby proportions, but it means if you carry a bit too much speed through a winding road like this one, it's going to put a smile on your face. And that's about all you could ask for. No, this thing isn't super powerful, 181 net horsepower, not going to jump off the page, but it's more than enough. There is a sport mode here. You can spin this dial if you need a bit more. It's a hybrid. Gets a little buzzy when the gas engine kicks in, but overall, I do like this thing. I liked it before, even with those space issues that I talked about earlier. I've always been a fan of the UX. It really just needed better UX. Having this touchscreen, that's what was missing. I think this thing is great. I like driving it. It's efficient, relatively quiet, lots of features, comfortable seats. No, you're not going to be able to haul the kids around with you if they're over a certain age, but other than that, no real complaints from me. To recap, I like that the UX finally has a touchscreen, how efficient it is, and yes, that it's even enjoyable to drive. I don't like the obstructed visibility, the high load floor in the back, or the limited headroom up front. Practicality issues aside, the 2023 Lexus UX is efficient and shockingly affordable compared to the rest of the segment. Adding a touchscreen is exactly what needed to happen to make this thing easier to live with, and I can finally recommend this little Lexus to anyone shopping for a crossover this size.
Hop in the car, watch it go vroom.